Most self-help advice tells you to stay positive, believe in yourself, and chase happiness at all costs. But The Subtle Art of Not Giving a FCK by Mark Manson challenges that entire narrative. Instead of teaching you how to feel good all the time, it asks a far more uncomfortable question. What if the problem isn't that life is hard but that you care about the wrong things? This video breaks down the core substance of the book and translates it into practical, real-life understanding. Not surface-level motivation, not inspirational quotes, but the psychological framework behind why we suffer, why we feel stuck, and how choosing what deserves our attention changes everything. At its heart, this philosophy isn't about becoming careless, it's about becoming intentional. You don't stop caring, you simply become selective. You decide which struggles matter, which opinions deserve space in your head, and which battles are actually worth your energy. Because the truth is simple, you will always give a *CK about something. The real question is whether you're giving it to things that build your life or drain it. The book begins by dismantling the obsession with happiness. We're taught to chase happiness like it's a destination, a final state where everything becomes calm and complete. But happiness isn't a permanent condition, it's a side effect. It emerges from solving meaningful problems, growing through difficulty, and engaging with life in a way that challenges you. A meaningful life isn't comfortable, it's demanding. It requires effort, resilience, and discomfort. Relationships require patience and vulnerability. Careers require stress and persistence. Personal growth requires failure and reflection. The idea that life should be easy is one of the biggest sources of frustration. When people expect constant comfort, normal struggles feel like something is wrong, but nothing is wrong. Difficulty is the default setting of existence. One of the most powerful shifts in the book is redefining problems. Instead of trying to eliminate problems, the goal becomes choosing better ones. Every life contains struggle, every path contains sacrifice. The difference between a fulfilling life and an empty one is not the absence of problems, it tests the presence of problems worth solving. A person who values creativity struggles with self-doubt and rejection. A person who values fitness struggles with discipline and fatigue. A person who values relationships struggles with compromise and emotional vulnerability. These struggles are not signs of failure, they are signs of alignment. When you choose what matters, you also choose the discomfort that comes with it. Another central idea is responsibility. The book makes a sharp distinction between fault and responsibility. Many things in life are not your fault or upbringing, your trauma, your circumstances, your setbacks. But responsibility is not about blame, it's about response. You always control your interpretation. You control your decisions, you control your next move. Blame keeps you trapped in the past. Responsibility moves you forward. When people stay stuck, it's often because they wait for someone else to change, for life to become easier, or for motivation to arrive. But ownership changes everything. The moment you accept that your reactions, habits, and decisions are yours to shape, your sense of control returns. This doesn't mean life becomes easy. It means you stop feeling powerless. The book also challenges the culture of constant positivity. Modern self-improvement often promotes the idea that confidence, happiness, and success should be permanent states. But this creates a dangerous standard. When people believe they must always feel good, normal emotions like fear, sadness, doubt, or frustration start to feel like personal failures. Negative emotions are not flaws, they are signals. They highlight what matters, what hurts, and what needs attention. Avoiding negative emotions leads to avoidance of growth. Accepting them creates resilience. Another key theme is values. Your life is not shaped by what you say matters. It's shaped by what you repeatedly act on. Values drive behavior. Behavior shapes identity. Identity determines direction. Poor values lead to fragile lives. Seeking validation from others, avoiding discomfort, prioritizing pleasure over growth, comparing constantly, chasing status stronger. Values create stability, honesty, responsibility, learning, resilience, contribution. When your values change, your decisions change. When your decisions change, your life follows. Failure is another unavoidable reality the book addresses directly. Most people fear failure because they see it as proof of inadequacy. But failure is simply feedback. It's information about what doesn't work. Avoiding failure prevents growth. Facing it builds competence and confidence. Confidence doesn't come from thinking you're capable. It comes from proving to yourself, repeatedly, that you can survive discomfort, mistakes, and uncertainty. Every skill requires failure. Every improvement demands practice. Every meaningful achievement is built on a long sequence of imperfect attempts. The illusion of perfection is one of the greatest obstacles to progress. The book also emphasizes the freedom that comes from limits. Modern culture promotes endless possibilities: be anything, do anything, become everything. But this mindset often creates paralysis. When everything is possible, commitment becomes difficult. Direction becomes unclear. Accepting limits brings clarity. You cannot excel at everything. You cannot please everyone. You cannot avoid trade-offs. But that's not a weakness, it's what gives life meaning. When you choose one path, you let go of others. That commitment creates depth, identity, and purpose. Another important theme is certainty and control. People often try to control every outcome, avoid uncertainty, and predict the future. But life is unpredictable. Plans fail, people change, situations shift. The more you try to control everything, the more anxiety grows. Strength comes from adaptability, not certainty. You don't need guarantees to move forward. You need willingness. The philosophy of not giving a f***ck is not about apathy, it's about filtering. It's about deciding what deserves your concern and what doesn't. Not every opinion matters. Not every mistake defines you. Not every problem requires your energy. This shift reduces mental noise. It frees emotional capacity. It strengthens focus. It allows you to invest deeply instead of spreading yourself thin. The book also explores the relationship between identity and behavior. People often try to change actions without changing identity. They try to exercise, wake early, read more, or work harder, but still see themselves as inconsistent, undisciplined, or unmotivated. Identity drives behavior. If you believe you are someone who follows through, acts responsibly, and handles discomfort, your actions align with that belief. Change begins internally, then expresses externally. Another major insight is that growth is gradual. There are no overnight transformations. Progress happens quietly, through repetition, through small decisions made daily. Consistency builds confidence. Confidence builds momentum. Momentum builds identity. The people who succeed are not always the most talented or motivated. They are the ones who continue, especially when it's difficult. The book also emphasizes self-awareness. Many people live reactively, responding to emotions, impulses, and circumstances without reflection. But awareness changes reaction into choice. When you notice your thoughts, fears, and patterns, you gain distance from them. That distance creates control. You stop being driven by every emotion. You start directing your behavior. Another idea explored is rejection. Humans naturally seek acceptance, approval, and belonging. But trying to be liked by everyone leads to a diluted identity. You become agreeable instead of authentic. Growth requires accepting that some people will disagree with you, misunderstand you, or walk away. That's not failure, it's clarity. You define your life not by universal approval, but by meaningful alignment. The philosophy also addresses comparison. Modern life constantly exposes us to curated versions of other people's success, happiness, and achievement. This creates unrealistic standards and constant dissatisfaction. Comparison shifts attention outward. Growth requires shifting attention inward. Focus on progress, not perfection. Focus on direction, not speed. Another important theme is suffering. Every life contains it. The difference lies in how it is interpreted. Meaningful suffering builds strength. Aimless suffering creates despair. When suffering is connected to purpose, it becomes tolerable. When it feels random and pointless, it becomes overwhelming. Choosing meaningful goals transforms the nature of struggle. The book ultimately teaches emotional maturity. It encourages facing uncomfortable truths, taking responsibility, and accepting limitations. It encourages letting go of illusions that life should be easy, that happiness should be constant, that success eliminates problems, that approval equals worth instead. It replaces them with grounded realities. Life involves struggle, growth requires discomfort, identity comes from action, meaning comes from commitment. The subtle art lies in selection, choosing where to invest attention, effort, and emotional energy. You stop reacting to everything. You start focusing on what truly shapes your life. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. This shift reduces anxiety, increases clarity, and strengthens direction. You don't become fearless. You become purposeful. You don't avoid pain. You choose pain that builds you. You don't chase happiness. You build meaning. Over time, this creates resilience. You become less affected by criticism, setbacks, and temporary discomfort. You become more grounded in your values, actions, and long-term direction. Confidence becomes quieter. Discipline becomes natural. Growth becomes consistent. The book doesn't promise an easy life. It promises a real one where struggles are meaningful, decisions are intentional, identity is chosen, where responsibility replaces blame, where values replace impulses, where direction replaces confusion. The message is not loud, it's not dramatic, it's subtle. Care less about what doesn't matter, care deeply about what does. That single shift transforms everything. You will always give your attention to something. Make sure it's something that builds you, strengthens you, and moves your life forward.